Peace and blessings, YouTube. It's the Ripper here. Yesterday, I posted a video on righteous principalities, and today I want to do similar to yesterday's topic of a part two of the righteous principalities, because one thing I've realized, as I mentioned in the previous video, is that this evil time that we're living in, which most people feel the evilness and the evil spirit of the people, which is also in the scriptures and has been prophesied that it would be like this in the end times or the end of days. But this evil spirit that we feel or have become aware of is something that you cannot allow to affect you in a way where it makes you evil. So this is the perfect example. If you know that the system is evil and the world has become wicked and unjust and oppressive and envious and hateful of one another, then if you don't like that, why would you allow that to make you that way? So it's either one of two things. Either you're weak enough to allow that to make you wicked, because that's what weakness is, or it's going to empower you in a way where you become an example of righteousness and light and magnetism for those around you, where they're drawn to your energy because you are uplifting, powerful, strong, and they feel that and sense that about you. So for you to allow a wicked world to make you wicked, you're losing. That is something that I really didn't touch on in the last video as much as I wanted to, because the wickedness of the people is something that is prophesied that would be in the end times in which we're currently living. So I would urge many of you to study more, study the scriptures, study history, study the prophets, study the cycles of history, because history repeats itself. Study what has happened during times like this, when you would notice chaos and signs of debauchery and betrayal. There was always another transition after that. And history has shown that the righteous people who were uplifting, people who were positive spirited, people who had the high energy, who handled their trials and tribulations with a positive attitude, those were always the people who made it through. Those were always the people God chose and selected to get through those rough times. So many of us don't know that because we have not been taught that, and you will never be taught that by your open enemy, because the open enemy's job is to keep you ignorant, deceived, and tricked. That's the only way they can control you and manipulate you, and to make sure that you not only they destroy you, but you destroy yourself from a cycle of ignorance and death and self-destruction. So one thing we need to be aware of is your attitude, your energy, and the energy that you're putting out into the universe. You have to be very careful that the energy that you put out is positive. This is not going to disadvantage you by you being a positive, righteous person in an evil time. Don't think that just because the majority of the people are wicked that you're losing, or you will be taken advantage of, or you feel as though if I'm wicked, then it won't hurt as much, or I won't feel it as much. No, power is only in positivity. Power is only in righteousness. You can be wicked. That's a choice. You can do that. You can have an evil spirit, but you need to realize that it's consequences that come with that: anxiety, grief, stress, depression, death, ultimately. So that's something that you can choose to do. You can choose to be wicked and unjust to yourself and those around you, but you won't have any peace. Now, if you choose righteousness and positivity and uplift in a time of wickedness, now, you're showing God that you are willing to have a positive attitude and showing that you have strong faith in the Creator, where God is going to get you through, like he's got others in the past, got them through hard times, difficult times, and made them ultimately successful and actually put them over their wicked oppressors. No matter how much power the wicked had over the righteous ultimately became more powerful than them by God's permission after a certain amount of trials. So just stay strong, persevere through your trials and tribulations. Don't allow it to break you and discourage you. And then if you allow your trials and tribulations to discourage you, you ultimately let the enemy win. The wicked oppressors feed off of that energy. They need to feed off misery, and they need the people to be in a low frequency. That's how they stay here. That's how they stay living. That's how they stay in power, when you are in a low frequency. So when they keep you down, they stay up, because they're not, your energy is no threat to them. because you're on the same frequency as them. And unfortunately, the position that they're in came from wickedness, passed down from generation to generation. So they're already in a position where they think they have power over you. So if you're wicked, then you won't have the power to overcome them because you're on the same frequency. However, if you're righteous and you show God that you're willing to sacrifice your own desires and your own ego and your own vanity to allow God to use you in a time such as this, then you prove to God that you're worthy of elevation. And that's when the enemy is truly you're at a disadvantage or threatened by you. When they see that their wickedness has no place in you and their wickedness don't affect you. That's serious with the enemy, because the enemy does not intend to go down without a fight. The enemy, the wicked, satanic people that are in power and even not in power, they do not intend to just stop being wicked. They do not intend to just, okay, I'm going to do what's right now all of a sudden. No, their nature, wicked people who are on that frequency, their nature is that. So they can be purified. The wicked can be reformed. The wicked can be resurrected and made righteous, but it's going to take a process. And if they're not willing to accept that process, then they stay wicked. They stay on that low frequency and they'll suck as many people down with them as they can. But you would be foolish to allow that to happen and then complain about your life, complain about not having joy and peace and prosperity and abundance and strength. And how can you complain if you're not doing your part? You can't complain if you're just as evil as those people, or if you're just as wicked and you don't see any progress, you don't have any peace, you don't see any cultivation of your life unfolding in a upward motion, upwardly manner. Then you can't complain about your life and where you are, because you are holding yourself back. So I mentioned this in the previous video. Let's not experiment with righteous principles, because that is a dangerous experiment, because you ultimately know your nature is telling you what's right and what's wrong. You feel it, you know it. The problem is you let society get in the way and you let society dictate to you what's right and what's wrong. And that's a horrible mistake, to let men or women do that. Your nature will tell you what's right and what's wrong by your intuition and your God-given intelligence, especially once you're awakened. Now, if you're an asleep human being, then you're just easily to control. They can control you much more and manipulate you more easily, because you don't have that intuition. You don't have that God spirit awakened, but it can become awakened, and you awaken it by sacrificing pleasure. You awaken it by telling the truth. You awaken it by living righteous and overcoming your weaknesses. That's how God becomes stronger and stronger in you. That's what that's a process. That's something that you have to do for God to become elevated and more electrified, and for God to become more powerful within yourself and myself, is by us proving to God that we're worthy of that spirit, because God is not going to just give it to you because you want it. That's why the wicked don't have peace. If you look at the wealth, the enemy, or the money that they print in the Federal Reserve that we think is wealth when it's really not, you would think that these people would be happy because they have so much, but they're miserable. They have no peace, and many of them commit suicide. They don't even talk about the suicide rate amongst the commonwealth of those class of people, because when you thought the money would give you refuge and it don't, it hurts even worse. It stings even worse when you make money and it doesn't. See, people who are poor and people who don't have anything don't understand that, because they've never experienced having wealth or having a lot of abundance or having a lot of material things. But people who are in that position will tell you it's more to it than that. It will actually be worse to be miserable with that, because you thought that the money and these things that you consider material value would give you refuge, would give you happiness and peace. And ultimately it didn't. So now that misery is even worse, because now your heart is broken, because I worked all this hard and made all these sacrifices and compromised to get this, and I'm still not happy. So I'm telling the people, like, I have the cure. I have the ability, by God's permission and God's grace, to help our people understand what we really need to be happy. And it's about being charitable. It's about sacrificing. It's about overcoming your weaknesses, not just seeking gain all the time. That's a lustful, greedy spirit, and that's a sin. Never become greedy or lustful. Remember that this universe was set up before we were even born. So we have to remember that it's going to be passed down even when we're dead and gone. It's going to be another. We're just temporary owners. We're not permanent owners. And we have no permanence in this universe, even if you live 500 years or even 1,000 years, which is how long we used to live back in the day. That's still not forever. So you have to remember that you're going to pass this on, even if it's not to your children. Someone else will become the owner of what you have. This material universe, it just cycles that way. It's the process. It's how it goes. The earth provides, especially in Africa, provides all the natural resources that grows: gold, diamonds, steel, copper, oil. All of that stuff comes out of the things that we worship, comes out of the earth. So we just put value on it. You don't have to put value on it. As human beings, we're foolish. Many of us, we've been lowered to the level of an animal or a beast to put value on material things. But that's something that this current world that we're in did to establish separatism, division, classes. That's what they decided to do: put value on material things. And then they would give a certain amount of that to a certain class of people and keep it away from others. That's how you create this problem, because we put value on oil, we put value on copper and steel and gold and diamonds. That stuff grows out of the earth. But we, as foolish human beings, put value on earth. I mean, we should put value on righteous principles, because no matter what comes out of the earth, nothing is more valuable than human life. But when you're a wicked human being and you don't know yourself, then people see you as worthless. But when you tap into the God greatness of yourself, then there people will respect you. They will honor you. They will see you as honorable and love you and want to be around you. So we have to get it together. We have to be purified. We have to change the way we think, change our ideologies, and redirect our thinking, because ultimately it will be the end of us, and it will cause us to be in constant chastisement, and you'll be under calamity after calamity. Every step of the way, every day you wake up, you'll be chastised. And that's a very miserable, horrible way to live your life. I would rather live my life in abundance, being blessed every day, making sacrifices, getting stronger every day. I don't want to be the worst version of myself. I want to be the best version, which means you have to sacrifice. You have to go through a process of trials and tribulations that build character, that will allow you to tap into that kind of godly spirit. You don't just tap into that accidentally. That's something that character builds, integrity, righteousness. That's what builds your God. That's what builds you up. And if you don't understand that, you need to learn that. And you need to really understand it's very serious. Because if we don't understand that, then we are constantly being self-destructive. And that is why we have all these mental illness and all these issues: lethargic, unmotivated, lazy, stressful, because we don't look at ourselves in an accountable way, where what am I doing that's causing all of this? What am I putting out where I'm getting all this negative feedback and negative misfortunes and loss and detriment in my life? So ultimately, you have to look at yourself. No one can fix that but you. You can be inspired by someone else and their life and what God is doing for them and the level they're on, but ultimately you have to do that for yourself. So we have to stop with the self-hatred. We have to stop with the insecurity. We have to stop with being on such a low, valuing ourselves on such a low level. If you don't value yourself, how you think someone else will? As a woman or as a man, how can you expect someone else to value you if you don't value yourself? And if you have unaddressed traumas and unaddressed things that you have been through in your life, and you're not healing properly, or you that has affected you in a way where you're just poisoning the people around you, then only you can fix that. Others can make you aware of it, but you have to do the work. So let's start taking more responsibility as adults, intelligent human beings, because we're much smarter than we think. Let's start taking more accountability and responsibility in the way we think, the way we move, and the way we act. And watch what God does. God will elevate you, bring you up. You'll start to notice more fruitfulness and prosperity in your life. So just try it out. Just try to live righteous. Try to attempt to overcome pleasures, lust, greed, envy, jealousy. Overcome all of that. You can do it. It's not difficult. And it's for your best interest. And it will help you, and it will guide you and grant you greater power. So thank you, YouTube family. It's always an honor and a pleasure. And you'll see in the link below, I have a lot of my information, especially the ebook, 7 Simple Secrets to Doubling Muscle Gains. Just really quickly, The ebook that I put together is a ebook that I've been making known throughout the world through this YouTube platform that I'm grateful to have. But the people I've connected with were people that had injuries and people who had a difficulty building muscle. They may have turned to synthetic products or a lot of the wrong method, just overeating and training improperly. So I don't just show you how to structure your workouts in the ebook. That's a big part of it, but I also teach you about the misconceptions and the wrong knowledge that has been given to us, where we are destroying our health and don't know it. So the ebook is very helpful in a lot of ways, even outside of working out, just in a mental way and mental empowering way, teaching you how to face the wall, face challenges, overcome adversity. A lot of principles like that are taught in the ebook as well. So hit me up. I'll have my email in the description below. And you can also my Instagram is at JAQUE the Ripper. So you can Instagram me there, and you'll have all this at the end of the video. And stay strong and uplifted. Peace and blessings.